Welcome to another Big Tyme Journey. Welcome to another talk. Welcome to today. It's all we have is today. We can live in yesterday. We can prepare for tomorrow. But these are things that we will never see. We can't go back to yesterday, and we will never reach tomorrow. Because we are always in the present of today. What do you do when the walls feel like they're caving in? What do you feel, or what do you do when it seems like the walls are closing in? They're coming closer, the room is getting smaller, the light is disappearing. What do you do when the darkness feels over-consuming and it's all you can see and it's all you can feel? How do you handle it? How do you overcome it? Because at some point we understand that who we are is who we are, and what's made us is what's made us. In these moments and times, these labs, when the darkness comes creeping in so silently, slowly overtakes us and locks us in a dark place somewhere in time and in the continuum, the existence that we've lived, the life, the experience that we have tells us we come out the other side. At least we think that's what we at least accept that as being some type of common knowledge because we've been here and we know the cycle. The cycle is miserable. I mean, it's insanity because we keep doing the same thing over and over again. The darkness goes away. We seem like we have it all together. Then we stumble, we fall, we step backwards. The next thing we know, we're back here in the darkness. The darkness just doesn't feel like it's ever ending. The darkness that feels like there's no way out. The darkness that just seems to consume us and hold us in place, and trap us, and snare us. How do we get through it? Some of us just we silently deal with it. We silently fester and we just hide away and pretend that nothing's going on. We mask ourselves to the world of how deep the darkness has stepped in. How actions and behaviors and choices and circumstances and situations have boiled over and locked us into a place where voices are louder than our thoughts. Because our thoughts are not the voices. Voices are those things that have come to be residents in our head. Those things that tell us we're not good enough, we failed at this, or we're not going to make this, we can't do that, or we're never good enough to begin with. Those voices that continuously hold us entrapped in this place that we don't even want to be in, that we don't even want to exist in. It's just like we want to get out the other side. We just want to be done with this. Why are we here? Why are we stuck? What do we do to deserve this? Is this karma? Is this the fate of everything we've done in the past life, in the past times that has caught up with us? Are we being dealt our hand of karma? Is this our payment? Is this our payment due? It's so hard sometimes when the darkness creeps in and holds you. It's hard to see out the other side. It's hard to find that light in the darkness. It's hard to find any belief to hold on. Sometimes it's just easy to say, what's the point? What is really left to hold on to? What is left to continue with? Why do we bother? What is the reason to continue with? Just be done. That the insatiable, uncontrollable pain and hurt and deep wounded scars that exist inside of us, that we could just end it. We could end voices, we could end the pain, we could end the hurt, we could end the feelings. And just be done with it. Just be done. How easy that sounds, so how relieving it sounds. Maybe you can't understand, but maybe you can. Maybe you've never been to that point, that brink, that stepping stone, that edge, that moment in time where you stood there looking over your cliff. Looking at that last moment of just like, I want to be done, and feeling a sense like if I was just done, I feel relief. And in that moment, there is some strange euphoria of relief. Because in that moment, we finally like, yeah, this is going to do it. This is going to free me from all of this that exists in this world, in this life, in this way that I can't overcome, that I can't battle, that I can't be, that I can't do anything. You see, it's sane man, the one that takes the escape, or is it the insane man who stays and keeps the fight going? Is it the insane person that keeps trekking through the murk and the mud and the darkness and the hollow grounds and depravity that we exist in, that we find ourselves deep and dwelled within? Is it insane to continue when it could almost be less insane to not? To just surrender? You know, they say you have to choose who you let in and out of your life. Sometimes, yes, sometimes you have to cut people out of your lives because they don't bring benefit to you. And every relationship, there's a give and a take in that relationship, even in your friends. There's some level of something that your friend gives you to continue a relationship. There's something in that relationship that you find valid to continue a friendship. If somebody isn't giving you something that you find a validity of something, then what is the purpose of that relationship? Now it gets harder when you start talking about family, because people talk about cutting off family. And yes, you can cut off family, but sometimes they come back. And sometimes the greatest viper, the greatest snake, the greatest asp, the whole thing is family. The greatest snake in my life was my own family. My own mother was my snake. And I'm not here to play victim. I'm not here to shame. And I'm not here to say I'm an innocent bystander. I danced with the snake. I played with the snake. And I knew what I got. But at the same time, I knew what I was doing. And I knew what this darkness was. And I knew this road that I would travel. And I knew these places I would go. And I knew these places I'd wind up. But I chose them more often than not. It's in this darkness there becomes this level of security. In this dark place, in this existence, it's almost safer to exist here. Because we accept it. Instead of achieving and moving forward and breaking out of the darkness and moving into the light, move forward into the greater good. It'd be so hard, so difficult, because we don't know what's out there, the unknown. The acceptance that we so desperately need. Are we really going to get it if we make the changes? Sometimes we go out there and make the changes, and we fight and we go out there, and sometimes at the end of the day it feels like we get thrown right back into darkness. We get shoved right back in. That people that we are trying to make amends with, people that we're trying to save from the darkness of their own, because we see sometimes they turn on us and stab us right in the back. We suffer that bitterness, and it hurts, and it drags us backwards, and we find ourselves in this dark place because we're trapped. Because these are people we want to forgive for their crimes, but their crimes were so deeply egregious against us. But we're stuck in the cycle because we immediately want to forgive. At the same time, have they really came and asked for forgiveness? Have they stepped out and committed to acknowledging their errors? We all overreact at times, but sometimes it comes to a point where the best steps are to start cutting people out of your lives that are not doing anything that's beneficial to you. Sometimes you have to break away from relationships that are unhealthy and toxic, whether it be friends, whether it be family, whether it be a significant other. You have to come to a point in your life you finally understand and accept this is not healthy. This is an entrapment. I'm in prison. I am in misery. My mental health is at stake. My emotional well-being, which all in turn is your physical health. And so sometimes we have to cut off people. We have to close them out. Sometimes it's forever. Sometimes there's a path to redemption. Sometimes we can find our way to the healing process, to a peace. I haven't been always the best at what I could be. Sometimes I fell short. Sometimes I created greater issues out of things that never needed to be. Sometimes I burnt bridges so far that today they still seem to be smoking. But I've also found myself on my road of redemption, my road of healing, my road of peace. Sometimes those roads have turned and backfired on me. Sometimes those roads that I find healing and peace on have hurt or left scars. and make it hard. We're human. And to be human is to be wanted, it's to be being, it's feeling of acceptance, to feel connected, to feel loved. Whatever love level that is, maybe it's a love of a significant other, maybe it's a love of a friend, maybe it's a love of a parent. Somewhere, somehow, someplace, we all search for this love, this acceptance, this place that we should be. Sometimes we have a hard time loving ourselves because we never got the love that we should have had. We were never taught love, and we were never taught how to love ourselves and accept ourselves for who we are. Sometimes we worry about what people are going to judge us or condemn us or say about us when we do things because we're so self-conscious. We're so unable to love ourselves and be proud of ourselves and accept that ourselves are doing the right thing. Then when we feel that, oh, people are going to judge me if I do this, it really is self-reflection on ourselves, because you have to reflect on, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel people are going to judge you? Because why should you care about what anybody says about you? You are truly on the right path for you. If you're truly in a place of happiness and love, really in this good place where things are good and you're doing what you should be doing and you're being productive and you're moving forward and you're healing and you're making the changes, then what does it matter what anybody else thinks? Now, granted, yes, we all want to be accepted. We all want approval in some way or nature, and that's great. But at the same time, we have to overcome that and improve ourselves. Some people may not approve us, but to condemn them to judgment because they don't approve for their reasons, as long as they're giving you reasons, and it's really not judgment. But if you perceive it as judgment, I think you have to look inside and reflect on why you feel that you're being judged, or why you're feeling condemned, or why you're feeling that people are not going to like the choices that you're making. I've been there. I made choices that I knew people weren't going to like, and I never told the people. I hid it and tried to hide it until it came to the forefront. And then when I realized that it was there, it was easier to try to avoid. But at the end of the day, the whole scenario would have been so much easier if I just chose to be upfront, honest. If I wasn't doing things that I shouldn't be doing, it's part of it too. But I mean, that's a whole different story. But I mean, what is it for us to overcome? Nobody in this world is perfect. And if you're trying to live up to this ideology that you must be perfect, then you're failing yourself, because you're living to an ideology that you've never existed. You can't be perfect. You're human. You're made to flaw. You are made to err. And the only thing we can do is try and fail and try again. See, that's the essence of life. It's going out there and doing something and failing, learning from it, making the changes and doing it again. Because somewhere in the path of life, we'll eventually get it right. Eventually it'll get better. Eventually it comes. Life can be full of ups and downs, and sometimes in the darkest of darkness, it can be just easier to surrender. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't change anything. Let's say you surrender. Let's say you give in to this ideology. Let's say it's time that you finally go, I'm done. And you step off this earth, you step off this moral foil. Say, I'm done. And yes, the pain, the existence for you may be lifted, that rush may come, and you may be feeling euphoric before it's all said and done, and you're gone, and you don't exist, and it's all over. That's it. But the waves that you're going to leave behind can change the path and the course of people around you that you would never understand. Your actions have consequences even in death. Isn't that crazy to think that you could still cause a ripple effect through life that can change the course for everyone and anyone, even if you are dead? If you've ever experienced suicide, if you've ever had anybody who's committed suicide, anybody that you're close to, whether it be a friend, family member, loved one, however you may have felt with it, then has it not ever lasted an effect on you? Has it not left a scar? Has it not left a line in your lifetime, a timeline, a different timeline than the timeline you were on before it all happened? See, isn't this really what is interesting? We watch movies that talk about all these different timelines, about all these existence, all these other worlds, these parallel dimensions that can exist. And the crazy thing is, how do we know they don't exist? How do we not know our life is being lived out somewhere different based on the timeline and the effects of the timelines that we existed on? And we are just on the plane of the timeline that we were affected. Wouldn't that be a crazy? But if you trace your life and find all the moments in your life that are triggering, good or bad, and I'm not talking about just all the bad triggering things, but I mean, we can talk about birthday celebrations that were memorable, your first love, your first kiss, your first date, your first car, these moments that are etched in your brain that are euphoric and you can go back and smile and enjoy. Are these not moments in time in our timeline that adjust our timeline in different directions? Are these all not part of our better story? Could certain issues in our life have changed the course of our life, of our timeline? Well, yes. When something comes into your life that was out of your control and it directly affected you, yes, it changes you because it leaves some type of connection, leaves some type of mark on you. It sends you in a path of a direction that may have not have been the path that you're on. All of us have been in different places. Maybe we wanted to be with the cool kids and did things that we necessarily wouldn't do, but we did them to fit in. Maybe we chose to do things that weren't beneficial to our overall growth as a human, but we thought this was the right answer. Maybe we thought it'd be really cool to drive down the road at a high speed and then we get pulled over by the cops and we get a ticket and that changed the course of path. Maybe we delve into a great world of depression. Maybe somebody dies in our life. We don't know how to deal with it. We don't know how to process it. We dive into deep depression. Maybe we wind up in a relationship where somebody's very abusive. Maybe it's not just physical abuse. Maybe it's not physical abuse at all. Maybe it's emotional. Maybe it's mental. Maybe it's a controlling narcissistic behavior of manipulation and control that we don't really understand, but we know something isn't right, and it changes the course of our life. Now we see everything. Have you ever had a situation that affected the course of your life? Did you have a good situation? Or maybe you have that traumatic one that derailed everything, that changed your entire life for you. That if you go back to that very moment in time and could change it, if you could jump in a time machine today and change that circumstances, your whole life would be different. But would it? See, that's the crazy thing about life is we don't know what it. We can assume and we can play this what if game, and that's what becomes the most dangerous thing of us all sometimes. That we can get so stuck in the what ifs. What if I were able to go back and change that moment in time? What if? Then my life wouldn't be like what it is. But what else would have happened in your life? Would you have been a better person? Would you have been a worse person? What aspects do you think that would really change? Because, we can talk about Back to the Future, and the big key there was anything you do can change the timeline. Whenever you go back in the past, if you change something, you could affect the timeline in the future. And we've seen this in other movies. We've seen this in many things. We've seen this anytime they try to say, you go back in time, they talk about, you don't want to see yourself because then you'll have this cause and effect of yourself that will change the outline of life and can cause a rip in the time continuum. So who says if we could go back and change that moment, change that second, change that day, that our lives would be? The reality is we can't. We are absolutely 100% stuck with everything that has happened in our lives, everything that we have done, everything that has made us who we are. We are stuck with those things. Now we can take those things that are good and use them as accomplishments, and we can take the things that are bad and find a way to reconcile them, heal from them, grow from them, make them right. Because the error is only human, and an error is only a mistake we refuse to correct. And that's what becomes the key is at some point, no matter how dark it may be, understanding that you can get through this, that you can walk through this, that there are steps and ways. And that sometimes the simplest thing is just rambling ridiculously about your thoughts, about your feelings, about being in a dark place, and just expressing to the world that. It's hard. Sometimes the easiest healing is doing something. Everybody has a different way of healing or dealing with these dark places. Some people want to play video games for release and escape from the realities of the world or the thoughts in their head. They can get into a video game and find a world where they can escape the reality that they're in. Some people use this different substance. It's not always necessarily good. It most likely is not good. You use a substance to escape a reality that can cause conflict and other issues. Because even in gaming, substances nicotine, caffeine, driving recklessly, uh, anything that you can use to escape your reality can also become an addiction. Look, you can have a video game addiction so much as you can have a substance addiction. And they're just both as bad because they can disrupt what you're really trying to do and understanding what you're trying to do and how to use it correctly. And of course, I would say substance is probably never a great way to escape emotions. Now, drinking here and there or smoking weed, nothing necessarily wrong with it, but you just can't allow it to become a handicap, or you can't allow it to be your answer to everything. You can't allow it to be this change as alcohol and other drugs like weed will change your behavior, your thoughts, put you to sleep. Now, there's good reasons to take some of it. I mean, you can drink. There's nothing wrong with drinking if you're responsible and know that you're drinking not to necessarily subdue a feeling or to escape, but to just relax, to unwind, and understanding those different ideas of what unwinding is and escaping. It's like smoking weed. Some people smoke it to help go to sleep. Understandable. Some people smoke weed to help stay focused because they have ADHD or ADD and their mind goes 100 miles per hour. When they smoke weed, they can focus better. There's nothing wrong with that, but there are people out there who, when events become too much, when they're overburdened, want to escape, and therefore through their escapism, they'll smoke weed or other drugs. And then you can play video games to escape and make that your escape. There's a difference between using these things to relax and doing these things to completely escape. There's a level of escaping and freeing yourself from certain things, but knowing that you have to come back and deal with them at some point. You can't just avoid them. Picking up the controller and playing the video game every day just to avoid the reality is not the answer. It's not wrong to get out of the situation for a moment and clear your head so you can come back and properly deal with it. It's like in a relationship. If you're with a significant other and you two are having a fight and you're yelling and you're shouting and it's just intensifying, at some point somebody has to say stop, time out, and you have to step away from each other and go do something else constructive so you can calm your mind and calm yourself so that you can come back in a better state of mind where you can articulate and communicate effectively what is going on without the yelling and shouting. That you got to reset. And so resetting is good, but just to completely avoid and never have to really deal with the reality that is there would be a very dangerous thing. Because you're not fixing the problem, you're just running from the darkness. You're just running from the problem, you're pushing it aside and hiding from it, thinking it'll just go away by itself, but it's not. And most people fight depression, mental illness, whatever reason, at whatever level. We know that we do this, but sometimes we keep excusing ourselves and saying it's okay. It's just this one time. It's just this. What do we do when the darkness creeps in? How do you handle the darkness? How are you able to overcome the darkness? Or are you not able to overcome the darkness? You feel you're just trapped and surrounded in a world of darkness? But there surely is no way out? Have you just accepted the darkness and accepted existing in that darkness with no way out, but aren't really going to push the edge? You're just going to live in that place? And is that really the place you want to live in? I don't think so. I don't think any of us really want to live and exist in that place, because that's not a place we really want to live and exist in. It doesn't bring any peace or balance or greatness. It's the same old. Sometimes we have to push ourselves through, and sometimes we just have to find a way out. Sometimes we have to ask for a handout. Sometimes we have to put our hand out and ask for that help. Asking for help is not wrong. Asking for help is not a bad thing. Sometimes we have to find our own way to them. Not everything's perfect. Not everything comes easy. Not everything is fun. Those who really survive through it are survivors, and it's a deep survivor. And you know what that means. You've been there, you felt it, you know what I'm talking about. But it is better, and there is healing, and there is a way out. There is a way to a better life. I'm not saying a perfect life. I'm not saying it's not ever just going to completely all go away. You can get there, but that takes a lot of work. It's really hard working, and sometimes you have to accept that you may never be at that level. That there may always be this lingering darkness that can creep in, but you can learn to get better about how to deal with it, so that the darkness doesn't linger as long. That you can communicate when that darkness comes into other people, so they can maybe understand and maybe they can help, or maybe they know how to help by simply just letting you do what you need to do to get through it. Some of us just want to get through the darkness and get out through it on our own. Other of us needs help to get through it. We just have to understand our own darkness. We just have to understand our own pain. We just have to understand what has got us here. And that's what the biggest thing is, trying to find those steps back to the place where it began, where these triggering events are, and how all the dominoes fell that got you into this place. And how do you rectify that? How do you make yourself at least whole in this life, in this place, in this time? You may never ever be able to go back and make that part, that lifetime whole, but you can make yourself whole now by understanding who you are and understanding how you work and how you function, and know what your triggers are, or what situations are going to upset you, or what these things are, and how to see these things when they start to happen, and acknowledge, oh, this is what's going on. I need to get away from this, or I need to do this, protect myself, or I need to start doing this, move past this. You have to learn yourself. You have to really get to know yourself. That's the deepest, hardest thing I think we ever have to accept is at some point with all this. We have to learn ourselves. We have to accept ourselves, love ourselves, and learn ourselves. And it's really in those places we have to accept who we are, that we're imperfect, that we have reasons, we have causes, we have this thing, whether it's a mental illness, whether it's a emotional thing, or whether it's this or that. We all know we have this thing that exists, and we have to learn how to properly deal with it and accept ourselves as we are, and know that we are still wonderful, good people, that we're still wonderful, amazing people. We may have done some bad things in the past, but if we are on the right road to redemption and making those rights wrong, or making those wrongs right, then we're on the right process, and understanding ourselves, understanding how we work, how we do things. Again, I think I've talked about this before. It's like the person with ADHD. They may not have the best way of focusing, so they have to realize, I have an illness, I have ADHD, and when I have to focus on something, I have to set up certain parameters for myself, so I can say focus on these things to get this accomplished. And it's not always easy for that person, as much as a person that's been through a traumatic relationship. Somebody has a hard time accepting love, and so they bury themselves against real love. When real love comes in, they want to push it away. They want to be loved, yes. They want to be in control of that love, because real love is too dangerous for them. Because real love that comes into their world takes them back to what they thought was real love, and how that betrayed them. Some of us go out there and we won't really let real love in, but we'll love and latch on. Let's say it's easier, but once we understand that we have this issue with love and letting somebody love us, and we have a hard time with it, and we have a hard time trusting. We learn these things about us and understand that we have to look at things a little bit differently. That sometimes when we're processing our thoughts, we have to stop and think, is this reality? Is this really how it is? Or am I overthinking this? Or am I letting my emotions rule my day? That's the hardest thing sometimes, is our emotions can overtake us. Our emotions can overrun us. Our emotions can be this thing that drives us, and when we let our emotions drive us, then we're out here doing wild and crazy things. And then by the time we come to the crashing point, and we're burnt out, and we're like, how did we get here? How did this all happen? Why? At some point in the process, we have to learn all these things that exist in us, find a path to redemption and healing for us. Because darkness creeps in, and we become aware of, I'm getting into a place that's really dark. I'm getting into a place where I'm not centered. I'm not happy. I'm not feeling emotionally healthy, mentally healthy. That it gets hard to do things, or just no energy to do things. Then we have to look at ourselves and go, why am I here? What is affecting me? What situations have happened? Where am I at? And how to rectify the course that we're on. Because something has happened that triggered an event, and that event has triggered us to take a path. And now we're on this path, and now we have an option to either stay on this path and go down this road that we know what the consequences are, or we can say, nope, I'm going to change the direction of this and start finding us another path. Whether we have to create it ourselves, and drive through, get back to where we want to be. Because we can be happy. We can truly find real happiness when we open our eyes to it and understand what real happiness is, and stop filling ourselves with fake things. Stop faking ourselves with fake love, or filling ourselves with other things, whether it be video games or drugs or alcohol, or going material things that we fill ourselves up with. We got to have this. We got to have this because it makes me feel good. We got to fill this in. Why does that make you feel good? Is it a need? Is it a true necessity of life, or is it a pleasure thing? And why are we getting pleasure from it? And what does it really mean? And it's a whole psychoanalysis that we have to do on ourselves. And until we can understand that, it makes it really hard for us to achieve anything more than a vicious cycle of repetitive nature. It's like getting in one relationship, that one doesn't work out, finding the next person and bringing them in and thinking it's going to be better because they're different or they're better or whatever. But again, if we're not better, are we really doing anything for that other person? They might be the greatest person in the world, but if we're not better, then can we really trust them? Can we really believe in them? Or are we always expecting the other shoe to fall? And so therefore we're going to create that other shoe to fall sometime. Sometimes we have to step back and take a full evaluation ourselves. Sometimes we have to look at the whole picture and see how we got here and where we're going and how we get out of it. And understanding our true selves is sometimes life is easy. It's great when it's easy. Sometimes life is hard. Sometimes those hard battles, those hard walks, the best things because they help you grow as a person. Don't give up on yourself. If you're going through a hard time, know you're going to get through. If you're struggling, just understand the struggle is going to make you better. And I know that sounds crazy in the moment, like how is this going to make me a better person? Because it is. Struggle, overcome it, feel success, and you can learn how to better, how to deal with next time. Struggle sucks. It's not fair. Some of us don't deserve the struggles we had to go through. Some of us don't deserve the cards we were dealt. Some of us never had it wasn't right what other people chose to do or brought upon us. And that, you can't fix that. You can't go back and change it, but you can learn how to process and work through those. Change the way you see things. Change the way you feel about things. That's the key. So you don't look at the next person or the next thing or whatever it may be. That's the same. I know I've done my own crap. Good relationships and bad relationships. I destroyed relationships in my own distrust, uncertainty, because I couldn't understand that, and I was scared. And that's the saddest thing. We're scared how many walls, barriers, and things we'll put up because we know that pain, and that pain is so deep and so rich. It's there. But understanding that pain is there, that we can deal with it, we can process through it, that we can keep ourselves safe without necessarily lashing out. That's a real big key in success of finding happiness, and finding pure happiness, finding true happiness, finding a place of living in peace that'll bring you great joy and make you feel like a better person and bring more positive relationships in life. But you could be with somebody, and if you have these issues and you don't trust them, and then they do something that sparks that fear, then you're going to trigger and you lash out, or you build walls, or you shove them away, or you push them away, and then you hurt them. They can't understand because they don't understand who you are, what you're going through, and they don't know everything. And maybe they do. Maybe you do share a lot of these things. But they can't understand maybe what they may have done, because without that communication and that work, and if you can't even understand it, it really makes it even more difficult. Sometimes it's just finding solace in yourself. Sometimes we just have to step back out and look inwards, start discovering ourselves and how we are, who we are, and why we are the way we are. And that's a great thing. Going through self-discovery, finding these paths, walking these paths, and going back in time and finding these moments that trigger these events. And you go back and go, why did this happen? What did I feel? And why did this lead to this? And then once you start connecting the dots, you understand, oh, this happens. I want to react like this because of that. But if I stop myself here and say, wait, is this like this, or is this what I'm making up in my head because of this past experience? It's when we start the healing process, how we start to change our course, how we can get our course back on the path that we. There is a way, there is a will. If you're in a dark place, there's a way out. There's a healing. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take time. It's going to get better. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been living with it. It doesn't matter where you are or how much time you may have left on this coil. It will get better. It can get better. You can discover yourself. And that's the when the darkness creeps in, you have to find yourself. Healing yourself. On the Big Tyme. This is the Big Tyme Journey. I thank you for joining me. This is forget what episode this really is at this point. This is episode 10. We've had 10 great episodes. I hope you're enjoying. Leave a like on this. Share this out with friends, family, whoever you think may need to hear these words. And if this one wasn't for you, that's great. There are plenty of other videos that maybe you can find something in. Again, my old saying is, it's not about you. If the shoe fits, wear it. Meaning, I'm not talking about anybody. I have no direct person in mind when I'm speaking. I'm sharing from personal experience in life and feelings and moments. And I sit down here, I'm speaking in feelings and honest and truth, trying to open up the best I can to maybe touch somebody's life in some way. But if there's something you hear in this and you feel, oh, he's talking about me, I promise. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I'm talking about everybody in general. But if you feel I'm talking about you, shoe fits, wear it. And maybe there's a reason you feel that connection. Maybe there is a reason you feel I'm talking about you. Maybe there's something in that. And that's, again, you have to look inside yourself. Think, why am I feeling this? Is there validity to the statements that are being made? There's something I need to change about myself. Again, drop a comment, share, like, do that thing on the Big Tyme. This has been the Big Tyme Journey. We'll see you on the next one.